everyone, so it's time for another garden update and chicken update, and the garden behind me has changed quite a bit since the last video that I made. In the last video we still had rows to cover and build and all kinds of things to still plant. There's still a couple things I've still got to plant. I've got to plant ground cherries. I've got a lot of ground cherries that need to go in. Some of the things that I started, such as like Napa cabbage and other things like that, I just decided to go ahead and not plant them out in the lot garden here. I had planned on it, but we got 3 weeks of, and we're still in it, 3 weeks of a heat wave. Just 95 degrees in May, dry, no rain for 3 weeks, which is kind of not normal for this area. We usually, when it starts getting hot, we usually will get like a afternoon shower or something to kind of break it up, but we've gotten nothing. So I've been out in the garden watering every evening or every morning, depending on when I can get out there, and just kind of giving everything a good sprinkle, not too much because some of the tomatoes won't like that, but just giving everything a nice sprinkle and making sure that everything doesn't dry out, especially right now when they need it the most. They're really trying to put on that growth. So I've got everything exploding out there. Everything's blooming, and I'll show you in just a minute what I mean. But I've got things kind of everywhere, and we'll go around the entire place and kind of show you what's happening. Okay, so just to give you an overview, we've got our tool shed. There's those unproductive cherry bushes that I'm going to remove in the back. The one lone blackberry bush, which is starting to produce, but they don't look good. They don't look big. I don't think they're going to do what I hope they do. Strawberry tower has quit producing, so again, this is still going to get remade. It kind of didn't quite work the way I had envisioned it, so we're just going to redo it. But the strawberry plants that are alive look fairly healthy, and they're going to start putting out more flowers here in a little bit, probably when we get some rain. So my son's bean tent is looking pretty cool. This is the first time I've ever done this, and I mean, the beans could be thicker. I was expecting it to be a little thicker, but it looks good, and so far haven't had any trouble with it. Had to tie a few of the beans on because they were just not wanting to climb the sticks, but then they finally got the idea and they are climbing the sticks. So they're just planted in a circle that I weeded. I took the grass out with a hoe and tilled it up. I've got a little hand tiller that you twist. Tilled that up by hand here. Got rid of some bricks that were under there. Like I said, this lot used to have a house on it, so we find a lot of bricks and other stuff. So got rid of some bricks that were on there, but those bricks came in handy to weight down the black plastic. So I have this right here. This is just holding space and keeping the ground covered, killing some weeds for me until I can get the artichokes in. They are in pots right now because I want them bigger before I actually put them in the ground. So I'm waiting for them to grow up a little bit till they can kind of hold their own, and then I'm going to make some slightly raised mounds. There'll be 6 of them down this row, with some good compost, mushroom compost, and then I'm going to keep this plastic over that and kind of just cut away little circles where those hills are and plant into that, and then mulch over. So I want to keep the weeds away from them, especially while they're young, but then they should be able to kind of fend for themselves. So that'll go here. This first row again is all of our melons. As you can see, this is I don't know if I can show you quite how high this trellis is, but this trellis is 10 feet tall. So they've got a ways to go, but they've got a lot of room to go. So this is the Kajari melons, so I'm excited that at least 2 of them seem to be doing well. That third one on the bottom was a replacement for one that died, and it looks like it's trying to start taking off. Don't know if it's going to, we'll see. But so far, lots of little tendrils to climb, and it's just climbing right on up. I come out every day and kind of weave them back in and out. These in the middle that have, like, each plant has, I think, about 3 or 4 vines coming out of it, so they are going everywhere. I'm having to weave them in constantly. These are the ice cream melons, or green machine melons. I had got these seeds a long time ago, and they are just taking off. Doesn't even matter that they're old seeds. And then some sugar baby watermelons, they're finally taking off. They had a little bit of a slow start out here in the garden, but they are taking off. They've got blooms on them now, little flowers. I haven't seen any baby melons. I think most of these are male flowers right now, but that's okay. They tend to put out a lot more male flowers at first, just like the squash do, and then the female flowers come along once there's plenty of male flowers to ensure they get pollinated. So pretty sure that's how that works. These on the end that I'm going to wind up just this end pole and make sure they don't go any further over are some Jack Be Little pumpkins for my little boy. He wanted pumpkins so bad, and they are blooming, lots in there, and starting to vine. At first I was worried it was going to be a bush, but they are starting to vine. These are the burgundy green beans, which are blooming. They're kind of laying over. They're supposed to be a bush bean, but they're kind of top heavy. Didn't do exactly what I thought they were going to do, but then again, I did start them in the greenhouse and I didn't direct sow them, so that may be why they're acting this way. I'm not really sure, but they are blooming, so I'm hoping to get some beans off them. We won't get a lot, but it'll be neat. It'll be a novelty thing. 2 more Jack Be Little pumpkins going up this one pole here. These are, now if you remember the shape of the leaf for the sugar baby watermelon, you can see that this one's very similar, and like I said in the other video, this one appears to be in the melon family and not in the cucumber family, even though they're called a cucumber. They taste like a cucumber. These are the West India burr gherkins, and they are sending out vines like crazy. Like, there's at least probably like 8 or 10 vines going out of the bottom of each plant. They're just sending them out everywhere. I may even grow these on a hill next year instead of trying to trellis them, because you can see, like, way back there, that one, I tried to trellis that arm of it up this morning and it fell back down. So I'm gonna have to tie these guys pretty vigorously until they get to where they're actually holding on to the trellis. So these ones in the middle are lemon cucumbers. They're actually, the leaves are big, they're full of flowers, they're climbing pretty good, but it kind of surprised me that the lemon cucumbers were so much bigger than the Armenian cucumbers, which are here. The leaves are smaller, the vines are thinner. To me, Armenian cucumbers are just, you know, these big, gigantic cucumbers if you let them go. And it just surprised me that the plant itself was kind of small. And maybe it'll take off and eventually surpass the other one, but I'm not sure. And at the end, I've got 3 honeyberry watermelons and a pink zinnia that's going to bloom soon, so that'll be pretty. Hoping these bring in some pollinators. If you see on the leaves these little bitty flies, I don't know, there it goes, focus. These little bitty flies, these guys are everywhere out here. I'm not really sure what's attracting them, but these little tiny bees are actually micro-pollinators. You can see one's pollinating that right now. So these tiny little bees are actually doing a good majority of the pollinating. I'm not seeing a lot of bigger bees, which is kind of discouraging, but we have a lot of micro-pollinators, and if I sprayed bug spray out here right now, all of those micro-pollinators would go away, and I would probably have to hand pollinate these cucumbers, sad to say, but that's probably what would happen. So right now, you know, flies, these little bitty tiny wasps and tiny little bees are actually what's doing the pollinating. So I don't want to spray anything if I don't have to. And I'm only going to spray some neem oil on these plants if I feel like I'm going to lose them to bugs, or if I feel like I can't get rid of the bugs myself. So okay, so second row, I do have a zinnia down there. It's laying over. I'm not really sure why everything wants to lay over, but it is. I won't stand up. But these again are the red bowling okra. So these are doing great. As you can see, they've got some, I think they're called calyxes, the little buds that will bloom soon. I'm really excited to see flowers on these because they have beautiful flowers. Like, even if you weren't going to eat okra, okra flowers are in the hibiscus family. So if you've ever seen Rose of Sharon, if you've ever seen hibiscus, they're in the same family. They look beautiful, like these big palm-sized flowers that just have these dark centers. Alright, so we've got vehicles going on all around us all the time, so it's just never going to be ideal time to film. These are the two Clemson spineless okras. As you can see, they're a little bit bug-eaten. I'm not really sure what got to them, but I've checked the leaves and there doesn't seem to be anything on them anymore. So I'm not really sure what it was. It might have been a slug or something, not really sure, when they were little. But these are the Clemson spineless. They do have some buds starting, but they are just so much smaller. I did read that they don't get as tall as the red bowling. Like, the red bowling in a good year can get like 6 or 7 feet. But the Clemson spineless don't get that tall. So that may be why they've always been smaller, and maybe I'm comparing them unfairly just from height and how big they are, but I'm still waiting to see which one I end up liking best. So germination rates still had me pretty down on those. 2 honey bear sunflowers. Yay. I love my sunflowers. I haven't grown them here ever. So this is my first year with sunflowers and I'm excited. Here are the Cocozelle zucchini. Now, these are putting on flowers. I'm starting to see some female flowers that have little mini zucchinis. And it's easy to look in here and go, oh, look, a zucchini. And it's not really a zucchini yet. It will fall off and shrivel up if it doesn't get pollinated. So I'm out here vigilantly looking for pollinators, making sure there's stuff going on. There isn't always, so I will hand pollinate these if I have to, but I'm hoping to not have to. It's just been so hot, a lot of the bees don't particularly want to come out. I may have to put like a bee water or something out here. But these are the gray zucchini. Now these, as you can see, I'll show you what one looks like. This right here is a female flower bud. It has a tiny little zucchini on it. That zucchini will fall off and die if the flower on the end does not get pollinated when it opens. So that's what a female flower looks like. The male flowers just have a stem, as you can see here. There's no zucchini at the bottom, so it's just a stem with a bud. So that's a male flower. And so I've got lots of little female flowers starting on those. I'm surprised the Cocozelle's not, I mean, it's bigger, but I'm not seeing as many female flowers on it yet. The gray zucchini has a lot of female flowers. Now here is my, these are Englisher custard squashes. As you can see, this is a female flower that opened up this morning. I went ahead and hand pollinated that one. I just took one of the male flowers from the other plant and pollinated that one there. I do know that I'll try to remember that one so that when I do harvest it, maybe I can save the seeds if I harvest it a little later than earlier, and know that those are true seeds to save. So that might be something cool to do there. Then, as you can see, I put up a trellis. So, drove 3 T-posts, 6-foot T-posts into the ground a little bit, and put some fencing along the top. There is quite a lot of space underneath it. So, these are, you know, Big Mama's paste tomatoes. I think this one is my lone Russian purple that survived. And see, I'm just holding them up with a little bit of string because that one was laying over, but most of them are standing straight, so don't have to worry about it. But it hasn't reached the trellis yet, so I'm holding it up a little bit like that. And then these are more, that's a Russian purple. Oh, okay, so I have 2 of them. That's good. This is Big Mama hybrid paste tomato, another Big Mama. And as you can see, I'm losing some randomly. Like, there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. Maybe the plant just wasn't going to cut it. But that's a Big Mama's paste tomato. It's hanging on, but I don't think it's going to make it. I may pull it out and replace it. But this is another Big Mama's paste. And then this one is Mr. Stripey. I'm really excited about the Mr. Stripey. This is the Mr. Stripey. This is Mr. Stripey. This is Mr. Stripey. Then we have the Chef's Choice. Now, the Chef's Choice pink tomatoes, I was really excited to order. I was glad that at least a few survived to the, you know, transplant stage. So that one's growing really healthy. I'm actually really pleased with them so far. So the Mr. Stripey and the Chef's Choice are doing really good. I've got basil interplanted, some Thai basil there. Some opal basil there. So more opal basil. That one I had to pull out. That was a Chef's Choice that did not make it. And these are 2 more Chef's Choice with some basil, cinnamon basil, and then my tomatillos. So my tomatillos are going crazy. They do not vine like tomatoes do, even though they're in the same family. So at first they got flea beetles, you can see. But the flea beetles went away, so I was going to spray them, but then decided not to. And they might have gone away because of these little bitty bees. Yep, these little bitty bees that are around here pollinating stuff. So that might have kind of chased them away. I don't know. There's some predatory, like, tiny little wasps and stuff. They're constantly, like, bumping into me and flying on me when I'm out here. So I know they're around, and I'm glad they are. So they're not bad bugs in any shape or form. As long as I don't accidentally try to smush one or something, they probably will leave me alone. But I tied those up as best I can, but they have a lot of vines. I can't wait till they reach the trellis because that'll make it a lot easier. And then this one is a big yellow tomato. It came from a seed of one I ate in 2015. And those seeds were still viable and still doing great. So don't let anyone tell you that you can't grow seed, you know, that's a year or more old, because you can. Yeah, I mean, they grow seed out for stuff that's like 50 years old or more sometimes. So as long as it's stored correctly, you should be fine. This one has a blossom that seems like it's cat-faced. So this one right here, I may end up picking that one off so that it doesn't ripen. I don't know if it's gonna actually form right. So then got a sunrise cherry tomato and a midnight snack. Those get like purple on them. Anthocyanins, supposed to be really good for you. This one is another midnight snack and another midnight snack. So only one of my sunrise bumblebees actually survived, which is kind of a shame. I actually was looking forward to those because they're supposed to be really pretty. As you can see, my pepper row has not changed. I'm actually wondering if they're going to just like stunt out at this point and just not make it. So I'm not really sure what to do here. I'm leaving them here for now. If I have to pull them out and go get some starts at the store, I will, but I was really looking forward to growing the Murasaki peppers because they're dark, dark purple, and the Zulu bell peppers, which are dark, dark black. So I was really looking forward to it. But as you can see, here we got the last 2 rows. On the very end, there's some red adzuki beans that I planted just for fun. Don't really know what I'm gonna do with them, but those are the beans that they use to make mung bean sprouts. When you go to like an Asian restaurant and get bean sprouts in your ramen or whatever it is, that's where they come from. So I thought that would be really cool to grow. I've got a whole row that I'm not doing because it does not have any compost or amendments. The soil is rock hard without it. So I'm not really planting anything in that row. I'm leaving it alone right now. But the rest of this row does have compost in it. And I want to plant the ground cherries here. So I'm just waiting for the ground cherries to get a little bit bigger, a little more stable to be able to survive, and then I'm going to stick them out here. These are the blueberry bushes, which are still loaded. There's 3 of them, and they are starting to turn. I went ahead and picked 4 ripe blueberries off the one over here. And ate them this morning. So they are going to start coming in a little bit at a time, and then they're gonna take off and just really start coming in really quickly. We usually just eat them. There's not really enough to store. I am hoping to dehydrate some this year to use in pancakes or tea or whatever else. So still got 3 of those bushes. I'm hoping this fall maybe I'll be able to plant a few more of them in this row here. So, and the honeyberry bushes are still growing, still putting out leaves, but again, they didn't fruit really this year. Probably next year. They seem to be a really slow grower, but this soil underneath them is kind of rocky, so it might be hindering them a little bit. But I don't want to put them over on the other side because it gets way too wet over there. It becomes a pond sometimes, and standing water is not good for a lot of plants. But anyway, this is the lot garden, and I'll go show you the other plants we have. Alright, so up here near the house, I've got potted artichokes. I want them to get a lot bigger. They went through a little bit of transplant shock when I moved them into these pots, but they are coming back. As you can see, it's got a new leaf that looks a lot better than the old ones coming up. A lot of them have new leaves. Even if they look a little sad, they are getting new leaves. They are surviving. So I am going to keep watering them, and once they get a certain size, I will transplant them out probably by the end of the summer, and let them grow some more, and then in the winter mulch them and hope they come back in the spring. So I've got 2 more on this side too. Honey bear sunflowers. Tried to grow some morning glories, but they're not liking it for some reason. But the sunflowers are doing okay, they're just not taking off yet. The blackberries over this way are doing really good. As you can see, there's a lot I need to pick. So there's tons in here. I've already got a gallon bag just on this little plot. I'll show you how big it is. I'll step back. But, I mean, that's how big it is. It's not that big, and I've already got a gallon-sized bag in the freezer full of them. I'm going to try to make some cobbler or something. So this has been really productive. Sending up new canes already. So we'll see what those new canes do and see if they really are an ever-bearing type of blackberry, or if they're just going to do, you know, a summer fruiting. Started a little bit of a compost pile here. Definitely have chicken shavings to get rid of. Okay. So we've got the chickens. They're 3 weeks old, and they are starting to be outside and have some fun. Yesterday, I've got some footage I'll show you of their first time on grass. second time on grass, and they are doing good. I've got a waterer that I built out of some PVC right here. It's got some poultry cups that I'm training them to. So far so good on those. But they are loving it out here. They were so bored in the box, and I'm only leaving them out here during good weather, when it's warm enough, so 80 degrees and over. And they are really loving it out here. They've got their water, they've got food out here, already moved out. And at nighttime, when it starts to get dark, I go ahead and take them back inside. So as soon as it gets close to dipping below 80 degrees, I go ahead and bring them back inside. Hey girls. Hey girls. They're actually pretty friendly. I mean, they're a little skittish. They are chickens. But we hold them at least once every day. And they are getting pretty tame as far as they want to be around us. They don't really run from us too much. They kind of run from my hand if I'm trying to grab them, but as far as like just running away from me, as you can see, they're wanting to be close to me on this corner. So they are doing really good. So the two black ones are Australorps with their little white fluffy butts. And the two kind of dark brownish ones with the more like almost khaki colored or orangey colored faces, those two are the golden laced Wyandottes. And then the ones with like the silvery white around their faces, those are those are silver laced Wyandottes. So every time the wind blows through the trees or something, they kind of do a little bird emergency. If you've ever had pet birds, parrots or cockatiels or anything like that, all birds seem to do it. It's just a prey animal behavior where one of them will freak out for no apparent reason, and then the rest of them will freak out too. So it's just a unexplained bird emergency. But I'm really actually pleasantly surprised about the Australorps, because they are... Come here, Liliana. Liliana and Vraska are the two Australorps. Elspeth and Chandra are the two golden laced Wyandottes, and the two silver laced ones are, there you are, Narset and Tamio. And if any of you are MTG fans, you know those names and who they are. So, but yeah, that's what we decided to name them. But they drink out of their water. This cup actually leaks on its own, so they don't actually have to trigger it in order to get water. I'm gonna have to probably replace it, but for right now, it's okay. They're still chicks. They don't really hit the trigger, you know, hard enough with their beak to make a lot come out. So I'm just gonna leave it leaking like that. It does make their indoor cage a little troublesome. But they like their water. They get water with a little bit of apple cider vinegar with the mother in it. About a tablespoon per gallon. So, hey guys. I did find a bunch of red wigglers under a pot a little bit ago, and I got a bunch of them and threw them in there for them. They love that. So, they are really liking it out here. And as long as they're not in direct sun, as long as they have some shade, they've got their food, they've got their water, and it's above 80 degrees and not raining, they are allowed to be out here as much as they want. So, there's just something so cool about getting to have chickens again. I got to raise them when I was a kid, but I never got to keep them. Once they were grown, they went out to my grandparents' farm, so I didn't get to keep them, although I did get to see them occasionally after that. But now I get to keep them, and it's really, really fun to get to raise them now. Hey, girls. See, they want to be over here in the corner near me, and they're even wanting to take a nap near me. You gonna peck my finger now? They like every freckle, every little piece of dirt or anything you have on you, they'll peck at it. So they're pecking at the grass and learning what grass is. Yeah. Good job, little girls. So the last part of the garden is just over to the side here, this little kind of plot that was supposed to be for herbs and things, and the heat and just the amount of grass growing in it that I have not been able to get to has really done a number on it. So other than the sunflowers and the dill, which is getting really tall, the rest of it's kind of petering out. So it's not much to show over there, but eventually, once I get my ground cherries planted, right now I have them in cups sitting by the house. They get afternoon shade. They get sun most of the day. The shade's starting to creep over to them now. So it's about noon. So they'll have afternoon shade, which will be good because it gets very hot right now. Even though it's only supposed to be 90 today, you never know. Sometimes it goes higher than what they say. But Wednesday, we are supposed to get some rain, so maybe in a few days, get some rain, a couple days in a row, but still waiting on that. And then I won't have to water so much. But until next time, you know, like if you liked, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, more updates about what's going on here. I hope to do some videos about how I'm planting things and try to capture a little bit more one-on-one talk about the certain varieties that I'm planting and why I chose them. Kind of go in depth about certain varieties you can plant and ways to plant them. But ultimately, gardening is just an ongoing experiment. You try something, you may read all day about how to plant something, and maybe your particular microclimate is different. So you have to try and see what works and then adjust and try again. So I will see y'all in the next video where I will update you, and I'm sure there will be lots more growing and fruit coming on and everything else. So I'll see you in the next one.